And good evening, everybody, and a very warm welcome to tonight's programme with the lovely Jillian Schofield, who will be giving us a talk on an introduction to shamanism. Jillian, thank you so much for agreeing to give us your time tonight and your knowledge.
Thank you, Laurie. Thank you for inviting me. I hope that I can impart some knowledge around what shamanism is and hopefully make it give some ideas of doing some experiential exercises as well. So it's not just me droning on at everybody.
Absolutely. It's not the death by PowerPoint as we discussed.
Yes, exactly.
That's brilliant because as I did admit to you before we went live, it's one of these topics. We talk about shamanic healing, shamanic drumming, shamanic this, shamanic that. But what is it? What is that core energy? Where's it coming from?
Well, shamanism is actually ancient. It's actually been recognised as being kind of one of the first forms of medicine, healing, which goes back to the indigenous tribes who used to have the kind of person you would go to for understanding whereabouts the best place to go and hunt, and what's going on in the village and what kind of assistance people needed. So it was physical, psychological, and hunter gathering. It kind of has the links back into the indigenous population. There are still shamans, indigenous traditional shamans out in the world. I was very lucky enough to spend some time in Ecuador with a shaman who was actually working in a health center. So he would have clients who would come and see him, at a medical center. You could come in, you could see them, the standard medical doctor, or you could go and see him as well. They had that in Ecuador and they had that in Siberia as well, when I went to Siberia and spent some time with a shaman out there. So it kind of has that ancient traditional aspect to it, if you like. So it is how it's become a lot really popular, really since the 60s, because one of the areas that's led it to become so popular really is the idea of these altered states of being. And I think what shamanism became very popular in the 60s when people were starting to experiment with different ways of entering altered states. So through meditations, through yoga, through the LSD and things like that. So people was looking at these altered states. And what I really want to talk about tonight is how shamanism is not just about entering into an altered state of consciousness. It's far bigger than that. Shamanism, because it's so ancient, it's really an energetic-based approach. So the core aspect of shamanism really has its root. It's kind of animistic, really. It has its roots in energy. Everything has got energy. Everything's got a soul. Everything is connected, which I think a lot of healers kind of connect with anyway. So there's this whole connection. So because they've got this connection, and because we are just really energetic beings, that we can look in people's energy. We can connect to people's energy. We know what's going on energetically with people. So it's all about the energy. So when a shaman comes and does some work, what they're really doing is looking at your energy. And again, that doesn't need an altered state of being. That's just a case of what they say is open your eyes, because this whole world around us, which we've over the years, our eyes have got closed and closed. I spent some time in Peru with some shamans out there, and they're still able to see this world around us, which most people have got our eyes closed. And what they talk about is how historically we used to be all connected as one. We could talk to the plants, we could talk to the trees, we could talk to the animals. We was all one and interconnected. But as, if you like, our consciousness has grown, our eyes have closed. So we're no longer able to see and connect and talk to in the same way as we could. So a part of a shamanic understanding is this whole interconnectedness and this whole ability to talk to and connect with elemental beings, as well as sort of like I mentioned, aspects of nature. So it really has its roots in nature as well.
It's fascinating. I often said in the first lockdown, I'm seeing this manifest. People having a thought in one part of the world and somebody else on the other side of the world is saying it. And I'm just like, this is happening too often now to be coincidence. It's like a ripple going right the way through that we're all starting to, consciously or not, connect with each other. How interesting.
It is, because we are just all totally connected. And I think the thing is, people going lockdown's had an interesting perspective, because in one way, a lot of people are going out walking now and they're connecting to nature. And so they're really, putting the feet on the ground, if you like, and taking that time and slowing down. Because I think one of the things which has happened to us, which is mean that we're not so connected, is we're so busy. We're so busy, we work hard, then we'll sit down and we'll watch the TV, and before you know it, a whole day's gone and you've not connected to anything. Barely your partner has managed to have a conversation. So there's that whole busyness, and I think a lot of the things we've managed to do is slow down. So I think it's been really good slowing down and connecting more energetically, while also doing, as you say, is really connecting more with people on the other side of the world. I know we were talking before about how you can get people from all over the world. You can come and have these conversations now. I run a little shamanic gathering on a Thursday evening, which I've run for many years. But since lockdown, we've gone on to Zoom like everybody else, and now I have people come to it who couldn't come to it before. We've had people from Canada, from South Sudan, from Kenya, from Poland. I run groups in Lithuania, from Bolton, from London, all places which can come now, which couldn't come before. So it's really, in the one hand, it's really settling, and on the other hand, we're kind of, I guess it's the metaphor of the tree. Our roots are going down while we're also going up as well. And so we're having that interconnectedness, because the more grounded you are, the further you can reach. That kind of tree process.
Definitely. And I love that about the different nationalities, different races, and different religions, but that one truism that we are all one, that we are all connected, no matter what our banner is, how we worship or whatever. There is that other layer to us of this is us together as one, as it should be.
Yeah, and we're all kind of suffering at the moment with the same thing, which again is bringing the world together. We're all sort of struggling with this pandemic and how we're managing through that. Though I'm working with some lovely shamanic practitioners, have come out with some fabulous ideas of kind of ways of working it, kind of putting protective bubbles around people, putting bubbles outside so when people walk through, they're naturally protected, and kind of really trying to help people protect on an energetic level. Because there's those different layers, and as you connect to your energy, then you're kind of feeling that, and you can feel the different energies. So it's a very energetic approach. So anybody who can see energies, that's you don't need that altered state of consciousness. You just look and feel those energies, and we can all feel energies. Actually, there's a little thing now. This might be something most people have done already, but I think it's a nice way for people to kind of start to feel energies. I don't know if everybody's done what we call the energy ball, where you rub your hands together and build up some energy, and then you kind of build a ball together. If anybody out there has never done this, just take a few moments just to do it. Yeah, just to rub your hands together, feel that friction building, and as you feel it, just kind of feel that energy, and just start to make it into a ball. And what you're feeling there is your energy. And I think that's really important, because one of the important things when you are starting to work, especially shamanically, is knowing what your energy feels like. Because if you know what your energy feels like, you know what's your energy and what's somebody else's. So when you're moving into working with somebody's energetic field, you know, this is me and this is you, and this is where we connect and start meeting. And what people can do if you've got the ability out there is to build a little energy ball and then give it to somebody else and feel their energy ball back, and just see what that feels like. So you can feel that actually your energy feels very different to somebody's. It's just a way to actually start playing with energies. So it's one of the first things I teach people is to start to feel and connect and just play with energies, so you can see the differences, you can feel the differences.
Brilliant. one of the teachings I give in the spiritualism side with circle work and healing is become aware of your own energy first, because if you don't know your own energy, how do you know which is another being put upon you?
Yeah, exactly. And also, if you know your energy, and your energy can be nice and clear, because I mean, people will heal in different ways. But what I tend to do is when I'm doing a healing is I connect to the other person, and I can often feel their energies in myself. And by being able to do that, I need to know, actually, if I'm feeling something here, is that me or is it you? Well, I actually know, because I know what I feel like there. So as I take on that person's energetic body, I can feel that actually this isn't me, this is me, my guides giving me messages around what's going on for that person. So again, a lot of it's not just shamanism, lots of sort of energy healing do that kind of thing.
Very much so, very much. I feel like I've wandered into a spiritualism night, quite frankly, which is great.
Right. So if I take it to the shamanic level, then so where I find it kind of, I mean, there's similarities, it's languages, but where I guess shamanism may differ is the understanding of what needs healing. So what makes us poorly, if you like. So the shamanic view of when somebody's poorly is basically because they're running out of energy. They've got an energy loss, or there's something in the energy which makes the energy not flow. So what we say is, if people's had a trauma, big trauma, little trauma, whatever kind of trauma it is, it doesn't matter how big it is. And we've all heard it. People say, and a little part of me disappeared, a little bit of part of me died, a little part of me just went away. So that's what we call soul loss. And it's practiced throughout. If you look at shamanism around the world, which I have, because my doctoral study is in shamanism and psychotherapy, so I've looked at shamanism sort of from around the world. And one of the common factors of shamanism, whether you're looking at it from Siberia, Peru, Ecuador, they've got the same process of thinking around this. The energy's gone. It's gone because of the trauma. It's gone because someone's stolen it. And this is actually where we start introducing the idea of the altered state of consciousness. So what would happen is, say somebody comes and they've suffered a trauma and it's caused a part of their soul to disappear. And if a part of your soul has disappeared, then you can get lethargic and you can get tired and you can get depressed and anxious and to the point almost of being catatonic, because you can't move because your energy is just gone. So what a shaman will do then is go and collect this part of the energy back, and that's where we get into the altered state. So if I go back to what shamanism is, I'll introduce you to the shamanic cosmos. So the shamanic cosmos is believing that we have a higher world, a lower world, and a middle world. So my brief interpretation is higher world is for learning. You've got the Lord of Time up there, spiritual teachers, guides, etc. They all live in the higher world. You want to know something, you go to the higher world. You want to go to the lower world? The lower world is a place for healing. It's all about healing. There's healing pools, there's healing guides. All those kind of live in the lower world. And the middle world is actually the world that we live in, but also the things around the world which we generally don't see unless we open our eyes and see what's going on. So there's these three worlds. So when a soul will disappear, you'll often go and find it kind of in the lower world, or sometimes it might go off planet into another world. So how a shaman will go and find this piece of soul is by doing a journey, and that's where the altered states of consciousness do. So you'll get somebody who will play a drum. It's like I've got a couple of my drums up here. I've got 3 of my drums, I think you can see actually. And you play a drum, and the drum is the shaman's horse, which takes you in that trance-like state. And what you do when you get in that trance-like state, you connect with your guides, and your guides will then go with you on a journey to collect this soul part. So, for instance, this is a picture. Wrong side. This is a picture of me and my power animals. So there's a polar bear there. So when I go and do soul retrieval, for instance, especially for traumas when people was young, is I connect to my sacred place, I connect to my polar bear, we go down to the lower world and we find this part of the soul. That's a very good question, Jamie, and I'll come back to that one in a few minutes. So we'll go down and we'll collect the soul. And if it's little, they often sit on the back of polar bear. Polar bear comes along and helps, sits on the back of polar bear, and they're wandering along, and they and then we take the soul back to the person, cleanse it, and give it back to the person. So what we tend to do is, so that's where you altered states of consciousness, and that's really to go on a journey and to meet, to find bits which of soul, and also sometimes the soul has been lost. So it's been stolen by somebody. So you might go to that person and collect the soul back, whether it's a person who, and you see it, some people when you're in relationships, you give them your power. Well, you're giving them your energy, your soul. So in essence, you need to, one of the things you can do is go and collect that back as well. So it doesn't have to just necessarily be to the low world. It can be go back to a person who has stolen your power, and you call it back and take your energy back. Like I say, the other thing is more when actually opening your eyes. So you're looking in somebody's energy, and the energy is not flowing because there's something in there, and that could be something in there. It could be a person, it could be an object. It could be something which has come into you in this life. It could be something you brought from your past life. Because everything is energy. Everything is energy. And when I say everything, I mean your words, your thoughts, your deeds are energetic. Every time, and I always remember this from when I studied Rudolf Steiner, anthroposophy, many years ago when I was young, it really stuck in my head. When you have a negative thought about someone, it's like an arrow to the heart. You're really energetically hurting those. So it really is the power of those thoughts. So when that happens to you, it can have an impact on you. So actually being able to go back, collect that power back and take it back into your energy field is so powerful. So that's really quite useful. So they're the main areas of, the other thing, of course, is you might have a spirit in your energy, which I'm sure a lot of people here know about. So psychopump and things like that. I did spot a quick question there by Jamie around my thoughts on the increasing use of ayahuasca as a therapeutic tool. I'm a huge fan of ayahuasca with a huge but. So I have been to Peru and to Ecuador, and I have taken ayahuasca. The psychological benefits are so powerful. They're like 30 years of therapy in one go. And I haven't said, but my background is I'm actually a qualified psychotherapist. I've taught psychotherapy. I teach CBT. I've been teaching CBT at the local university for the last 15 years. So I kind of really know what psychotherapy looks like. I'm also training Gestalt psychotherapy. So I have a real grounding in psychotherapy. And I would still say psychotherapy is a huge psychotherapeutic tool. However, and this is where I will caution anybody who wants to take ayahuasca, right? It is a very powerful tool. And we all know when we do any kind of spiritual work, we're attracting spirits, okay? So when you do ayahuasca, you're attracting spirits. And one of the reasons I will go to South America to do it is that you always have a shaman who connects to the plant, and you also have other shamans and people who are holding the space. And I always remember, I'm going to get a little bit weird now. I always remember one of my first ayahuasca ceremonies. I was laid there and I could hear the shaman singing to the plant, and I was and I could see the plant dancing and everything. So I laid down. And then suddenly his voice got really powerful. And I opened my eyes and I saw this massive, great black snake come up over his head, go down to someone, grab a being and disappear. Now, what? And so you need somebody who can really hold that space. I've worked with people who have been to ayahuasca ceremonies which is not in a safe place. The person who is holding the space is not holding the space. And therefore, people are coming back with the other thing I haven't mentioned is what we call attachments. Is when there's something from the middle world or a spirit or something, and it's attached to your energy, and it actually has an impact on your energy. People have come back and they are behaving differently. They're thinking differently. They're talking differently because they have this really nasty spirit attached to them because it attracts to them, and the person holding the space isn't able to hold the space. So I think ayahuasca is fabulous, but it has to be taken in a very safe place.
So just to clarify, ayahuasca is some sort of native herb or plant or something?
Yeah, sorry, my assumption.
Right.
Yeah, so ayahuasca is a plant medicine. So ayahuasca, what it does is it gives you the ability to really open your eyes. You know, I've talked about how our eyes are closed. It gives you the ability to open your eyes and really see what's around you, and then to connect to the plant and to connect to whatever spirits you're collecting to actually communicate and to really learn and work through psychologically, energetically, or through all your rubbish. So it's actually quite powerful. Yeah, it's a plant medicine. It's a plant. You go and drink a tea.
Lovely. And would that be similar to what we hear about when the North American Indians were going to a sweat lodge with herbs to enhance that spirituality and that connection, to open doors?
It puts you in a different state, if you like, altered state of consciousness, so that you can see and connect differently. Vision quests as well, you know, it's the lack of food, the sweat lodges, all those. It's all about, you know, changing that level of consciousness. So it's brilliant. Fascinating stuff. I mean, if you can do it, but please make sure you do it safely. I just saw a question from Mark. You feel your part of your soul disappear when you're... Yes. It's quite... There's so many people who are tired and depressed and anxious and struggle because a part of their soul disappeared when they was younger and older. And what I love about shamanism is you can get that soul back. Wherever that soul is, you get a shamanic practitioner and they can just go and they can get you your soul back, and then they can cleanse it. And then to be fair, and I think this is really important as well, which often gets missed, is if you go to see a shaman, to collect a shamanic practitioner, to collect your part of your soul back and you retake it in, you also need to do some integrative work on that to help reintegrate that part of your soul back into your energetic body. Else it doesn't quite sit, or it will just kind of go, okay, well, you don't care anyway, and it will disappear again. So there is some... is making sure that you actually do that integrative work as well, and not just take it back and then forget about it. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. There's a question here from Mary Dixie, and I think this is a question of perspectives.
Yeah. Why are healers in a lower realm than us? It's wordage. It's because if you think about growth, what grows, and healing, if you think about the ground, you know, the shoots come up from the ground, everything comes from the ground, we rise, we grow from the ground. So if you like, those people who have been to the high world and the low world, you'll find you go to the high world, it's all very nice and airy-fairy, and you know, you talk to your guides and you're learning stuff, and it's all kind of up here stuff. But when you're really... if you think about it, if you really connect when you're healing somebody, it really is more inside, more deeper, more grounded, so that you can really connect, and you can connect to the higher and to the middle, and connect to do that healing, to really connect to that healing. So yeah, that would be kind of my understanding of sort of the research I've done on this subject.
That makes perfect sense, because it just does. You know,
when you really energetically feel it, you know, we're up here and we're like, oh, guys, yes, oh, my spiritual parents, oh, yes, and oh, yeah, I'm learning all this wonderful stuff, and now I want to heal. I'm down here, I'm healing, I'm in it, I'm feeling it, I'm connecting to it. It feels very deeper and groundeder, if that makes sense. If that's even a word. Yeah. I've just made a word up. Groundeder.
You wait until I next do healing.
Well, let's go and do someone who's grounded. Good. Yeah. So if I think back to a list of things I've got to look at, is there any more questions? Because I love questions.
Not at the moment. Just a comment from Mary about that's a comment, really answer to her question. So it's really an intermingling.
The link, the tree is the link, if you like. If I was to go, I can go to the high world to get some knowledge, which I then may take down to the lower world, and kind of sit in the lower world in a healing pool with my guides and talk to them about what's going on. So yes, there is a connection. It's a kind of tree connection. You can kind of see here. I always go the wrong way. Here we go. A tree. It's like you've got real grounded roots which shoot up into the sky, and you can go between the two. But really often, if you're going to do some healing, so soul retrieval, it can, to be fair, can be out in the cosmos. It doesn't have to be in the lower world. But generally, healing pools often sit in the lower world. They kind of sit there, and you can go and you can lay back. It's like when I go to see the lower world, and a lot of people I've worked with tend to actually see something quite similar. Is that it's kind of like a forest. It's full of trees. It's full of nature. It's full of, you know, that real energies which you can connect to and just feel the healing from. If you go and stand in a woods, a real forest, and connect to the trees, you can just really feel that healing energy. And that's how I always experience the lower world, a really healing place. How can energies attach to you? Really easily, if you're not protected. So to turn the question around a little bit, is energies will attach to you if somebody's sending you energies. So negative thoughts and negative opinions, negativity towards you, that can attach to you. But they're relatively easy, and you can actually wash them off. Some of the ones which are less nice, if you like, are the ones which are, if you're doing energetic work, and I'm sure there's a number of healers here, is you have to hold the space. So my house, this whole area, I have a huge sort of protective layer around it so nothing can come in, because as I do this kind of work, it's going to attract these entities. It's the same as, and I've seen books written about visiting the middle world, which is that world which we live in. Basically means you're opening your eyes and seeing what's going in the middle world. Now, when you start seeing the middle world, those entities in the middle world start seeing you more, and they're more interested in you because they're like, ooh. So as they're interested in you, they're likely to attach to you. So I always say, if you ever go to the middle world, if you're reading these shamanic books and they're saying, go to the middle world, do not go to the middle world unless you are protected. Just sit back, get your guide, and just say, put a cloak around me to protect me. And that way then they won't attach to you. But in essence, we're just energy. It's just like stuck. It's really easy to just suck on next to you and then just suck off your energy. If you suddenly find that you're feeling aching here, often is at the back of the neck, and all your energy is being sucked away, you could just have something stuck on the back of your neck and sucking your energy. So you just get someone to take it off for you. I see I hope that answers your question. I see there's a question about, can you call back your soul back on your own? Yes, you can. Quite simply. I would say what you need is safety cloak, like I just mentioned. What you need is, first of all, is connecting to your guides. This is how you do it. You connect to your guides. You work with your guides. You go to your sacred place. So you've got a sacred place. Yeah, you set your intention to go and get back this piece of soul. Yeah. You then get somebody to play a drum, or there's lots of drums on YouTube these days, so that somebody's drumming, while you then sit back and you connect to the drum, you connect to the energy of the drum, because the energy, the drum has got its own energy. It will take you, and then the drum is what will take you on that journey. So you get your guides, you go down to the lower world, you find your timeline, you go to whereabouts your soul was lost. The way to do it is you collect your soul back yourself. You ask your guide to heal the trauma. It's really important. Get your guide to heal the trauma. For whatever reason your soul left, you want that bit healing. So you ask your guide to heal that bit of trauma. You then take it, and in the lower world, there's always healing pools. Just give it a wash, and just imagine it's just pure energy. And you just imagine you can just take it back into your heart, or you can imagine a drink and just drink it in. But remember the integration. Especially if it's young, it's talk to it, play with it. You've got to reintegrate that part of soul. But yeah, you can do these things yourself. When I practice, and it's one of the things I'm very big on, because I do have a shamanic practice, is that when people come, I teach them to do it themselves. I can do soul retrieval for you, but I think it's far better if you can do it for yourself. It's the same as I can connect to your guides, I can do all kinds of things, but actually, why? For me, I'm very much a person who believes in teaching you how to do it. And that's how you do soul retrieval.
Now you know, Mark. Lovely one from Joan in America.
Do you meditate before you go into the healing? A journey. See, it's an interesting word, meditation and journeying, because sometimes I meditate, sometimes I won't. I will always sit back, because journeying is a form of meditation, really. I'll sit back whenever I do a journey. I sit back, connect to my guides, connect to my sacred place, which in essence is really that sitting back and connecting with myself, which is really a kind of meditative way. And then I'll go and I'll do the healing. Always connect to the to whatever of my power animals I'm working with, or my guides first. Shamans, again, it depends on where you were, what you mean by meditation. So when I had a healing from a shaman in Ecuador, it was the most funniest experience ever. It really was like going to a clinic. We kind of went in and there was a room and it had a mud floor and it had wooden benches around it. We basically sat on the wooden bench with all the other people lined up, and we all kept moving up the bench to get closer to the shaman, who sat at a little desk at the front, and he'd just look at you and go, "What's the problem?" And we had a translator, and you'd tell him and he'd go, "Right, stand up, let's see what to do." And he'd just get in there, play with your energy. He's like, "Right, that's you done. Next." It was like going to a health centre. Well, it was a health centre. It was an Ecuadorian version of a health centre. Again, Siberia. The shaman I worked with in Siberia didn't necessarily meditate, but he was just constantly connected to the spirits and what was going on. And he'd sit there and he'd say, "That's going on." I remember a funny story. When we was out there, we had a guide who had gone out. We was out in the middle of nowhere, wild camping with a shaman, absolutely amazing. And the guide had disappeared and gone and got himself drunk. And he arrived back quite late, rather drunk, fell asleep. Without, when we were supposed to be all organising a ceremony and such like. So the next day, the van wouldn't work, and the shaman's laughing, going, "Spirits are angry with him." So then he went off and found some nomads who came and got the van working again. About an hour later, we got a flat tire, and the shaman's sitting there laughing, going, "The spirits are still angry with him." We managed to get that mended, and an hour later we broke down again, and by this time the shaman was less happy. He was like, "This is no longer funny," but he was just constantly connected to the spirits.
How interesting. Do you know what? A little funny story here. When all this kicked off, and with the church going online with so many things, streaming services and these evenings, the first month kept going wrong, the sound, vision, all sorts of things. And I sat in the church and I went, "Right, come on." And I really connected with everybody in spirit with the church. And from there on in, I just thought, I don't believe I've done that, but it's worked.
And I think you hit on a really important thing there, is it's not just us who have energy, and it's not just the energy of trees and animals and plants. Buildings have energy, the land has energy, but also a group has energy. When you get a group together, there's an energy built up there. So like you say, is if you've got a church and you've got a whole bunch of people in there, that's a whole another energy to connect to the overarching energy of that as well, which is quite fascinating. Just looking at Sarah, yeah, if somebody has gone and had ayahuasca and they're coming back and they're very different and you're really connecting that they're not right, I would not be surprised if she had a attachment. Could quite easily be an attachment. Yeah, totally unbalanced, because ayahuasca balances you. It really does settle.
It's this commonality in spiritualism. You know, when we teach people to open up, we always teach the safeguards, you know, and we often see it. People go, "Oh, spirit are talking to me 24 hours a day." And I'm thinking, really? You really think that's wise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you kind of need to say, "Not tonight, I need to go to sleep." But I think the problem with ayahuasca is it's becoming very, very popular, and there's lots of people know it's popular, so therefore they're building up and sort of running these ayahuasca retreats, but are not necessarily really know exactly what they're doing, and it can be quite dangerous. So if you are going, do research the place, do get some reviews, do make sure it's fine.
Yeah, and that goes as well, people, for spiritualism, sitting in circles, research the teachers, see their credentials.
Definitely. Always check. Yeah.
Nice question from Lucy here. Just saying, in the shamanic world, what does a wolf power animal represent?
I can't remember. If I'm honest, I think different animal. I think it depends on also if the wolf is your power animal, it's partly what the characteristics of a wolf bring, and it's also partly representative of who you are and what you need. So you have your power animals that you work with quite regularly, and you have power animals who pop into your life, and they've popped in there because you need an essence of them. I find with power animals, they have different roles and they do different things. So I have a whole bunch, like say up here. You can see woolly mammoth, polar bear. There's a bison. There's a blackbird. There's a variety of animals. They all have their jobs. Woolly mammoth stands at the front of the house, and nobody's allowed in unless woolly mammoth lets them in. There's a dragon at the back, and nobody's coming in unless you see. Polar bear always comes on journeys with me. So these are my set animals, if you like, who I work with on a healing basis. But then if there's something else happens, then a different animal will come. So a gorilla has turned up once or twice. So it all depends on. It's not just about what the animal represents. It's how you work with them. And I think one of the things I do when I do come and meet your power animal, it's not just come and let's do a nice journey. I'll play the drum, you do a journey. Oh, look, you've got a wolf. It's like, well, what does that wolf mean to you? Why are you connecting to a wolf? What is it about the wolf you need now? So it's really taking it to that deeper level, because I can't help it. I'm a psychotherapist. I want people to really understand why. Not only why have you got a wolf, but what does it mean to you? What does it represent in you as well? Does that make sense? Yeah. Have you talked to the wolf? Have you had a chat with the wolf and seen what it's want? Have you done a journey and just sat? And if you don't know how to journey, or if you haven't got, well, just put a drumming CD on. This is what I suggest to people if they want to do a quick journey, but they don't really understand the whole cosmos thing. Sit back, put a CD, put YouTube on of a drumming journey. Sit back. Breathe, connect, relax, and then what you do is you just set your intention to go and meet, in this case, the wolf, and you sit there and you go to your sacred place. You just think of a place in nature, and this is a place where you step between worlds. So a sacred place in shamanic is a place between two worlds, okay? So you always go there to step into the next world. So what I would say is, so you imagine your sacred place, and as you're sitting there and as you're connecting, you set your intention 3 times, always 3 times. And then you walk down a path, and as you walk down the path, you walk down and there's an opening. And in the opening, there's your wolf. Go and connect with it and ask it, "Ooh, I've just read it feels like home." You could be really connecting to a past life with it. You know, you said I think you said something about Native American. Yeah, you was once a Native American. Maybe it sat with you there. Yeah, fabulous.
And I love your teaching there about, we're not passive. When we work with spirit, when we work on the shamanic level and everything, people, you are not passive. If somebody walked into your room and stood there looking at you, would you just sit there going, "Oh, I wonder what they want"? You go, "Who are you? What do you want?" Yeah. And yet people throw ourselves out on meditations and say, "And this came up." And go, "Okay, what was that about?" "Oh dear."
Yeah. What did they say? What do they want? Talk to them. Yeah. It's really exciting. Yeah. The one thing we know is that there's you probably know spirits, but all these animals and the trees, they all desperately want to talk to us. So talk to them. And it's interesting because there's 2 layers. And I always say this because everyone says, "Oh, I always go and talk to trees." And I always go, but do you listen to them? And it's like, what do you mean? And it's like, right, you go to your garden, you go, hello tree, and I give it a hug, and I've got a tree in the bottom of my garden, and it's like, hi, how are you? And give it a hug, and I'll sit with it, and I'll talk to it, and it's like, that's fine. But you actually sit and say, how are you?
Right.
What's happening for you? What's happening in the tree world today?
Yeah.
And actually listen, because it's like we can talk. I'm clearly good at talking. I'm talking like mad, but actually, it's that. And I would say it's almost the next level, which people don't think of. They think I'll go and talk to the tree, but actually, if you sit with the tree and you've talked, especially if you've been talking to it for a while, just sit under it and connect to it, and just kind of go, I've been talking to you a little while now. Like, thank you for listening. I'd like to talk to you now. I'd like you to talk to me now. If you've got anything to say.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
A couple of people have asked this same question. How do you know you are a shaman?
It's a word. It's an interesting word because it. Okay, let me turn it around. Anybody can learn to be a shamanic practitioner. Yeah. If you're asking the question, I would say that you're definitely called to an interest in shamanic practice. I think whether people are shamans or not is a debate I really don't want to get into, because I know that causes a lot of debate. And if you read the literature, because I am really geeky and I've read all the literature as well, because I'm really boring like that. The word shaman actually fits with your traditional indigenous shaman, and the word which has been floated around in academic texts around Western shamans are what they call neo-shamans, and it's a neo-shamanic practice. So I'd say if you are drawn to heal or to connect to nature in any kind of way, that is shamanic. And I wouldn't get hung up on being a title. I'd say if you feel like it, then it is. Then you are.
I would agree. I think sometimes in all walks of any spirituality, people sometimes get a little bit lost by focusing on the destination and not the journey. And once you really immerse on that journey, you just sort of like go, okay, well, this is unfolding every day. That's great. Some days it doesn't. Some days it leaps ahead. And yeah, carry on. Enjoy the journey.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to me, and I hear people have this argument, I'm like, should I be called a shaman? Should I? And it's like, that's a bit ego, really. It doesn't really matter. Most shamans around the world do not call themselves shamans. The only shaman I know who calls himself a shaman is the shaman from Siberia. And shaman is a Siberian word which comes from Siberia. So it kind of makes sense. Most people don't get hung up on that word. It's almost a Western concept to get hung up on the word shaman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice question here from Sam. Just mentioned the group.
Yeah, I do. I do have a group. I have a really lovely little shamanic group. And if people are interested, we've got. Okay, the way I work is I don't like to work in big groups. So it's the same as when I teach, because you know if you do a shamanic course, then I don't. Well, my shamanic course I take no more than 5 people, because it's a personal transformational group. And the group I work with, there's a small group. There's only about 8 of us. So, and I do another group. So I have 2 actual groups at the moment. So Sam, if you wanted to join, you're very welcome. If more people want to join, what I'll do is I'll put another group on, because I'm very much for the personal touch, for the personal development. For me, I want to help people learn and develop and be themselves. And if it's a massive group, especially at the moment with Zoom and such like, you can't. But Sam, if you are interested, do contact me, and we can ever talk about whether you can do that. Come in. I just saw Tony. There's some good books by. Depends on what angle you're looking for. Michael Harner is the most classic most people have heard of. He's a guy who's travelled around quite a lot. He does core shamanism, they call it. He's written quite a lot of books. He's the main, I would say, author. He actually is an anthropologist in background who studies shamanism and shamanic practice and has developed core shamanism. So He's good. Sandra Engelman is another good one. What I like about her is she's a psychotherapist as well, so it's going to speak to me. So she's interested again about the personal development side of it. So they're two of the main authors I'd say is a good place to start. Yeah, if anybody wants to join a group, if you contact me, and if there's a few people who want to join, what I'll do is I'll put a group together. So yeah, just send me a message, and because I'll give you my contact details, and then just send me an email, and I can see how many people want to connect, and we'll put a group on.
I've just posted your website address on there. I know you're working on a new one, but there are the contact details on there as well.
I mean, we have got some interesting stuff going on at the moment, which is why we're doing a new site. We're fingers crossed. We're hoping we can do some stuff face to face in the summer. So we've been creative and brought a bell tent. So we thought if we're allowed out, but we're not allowed in, then we're going to do a bell tent in a field, and we'll do connecting to nature, connecting to guides. We'll do lots of really fun things out in nature. So that's one of the things. And I've resisted the transition to teaching online, but because we're just so long now, I have got a new course starting soon. But like I say, I'm only probably going to have 4, maybe 5 people, because it's going to be personal transformation, and it's via Zoom, and so it's not as good as that personal one-to-one. But I want to make sure people get heard, so that's coming soon, but it's not here yet.
That is a sign of a good teacher, that I only want to do small groups, because I've been on some courses and there's like 40 of you, and you know, and you've got all that vibration going on between everybody, and you lose a little bit of it.
You do, and I think because what I do as well is it is an integration of shamanism and psychotherapy, that it is all about personal transformation through shamanic techniques with a little bit of therapy thrown in. So it really is that kind of, it's a personal journey, and if you're going to be on a personal journey, you don't really want to be with more than sort of 5 or 6 people, because like you say, then I've sat in big groups and I've gone, well, I'm kind of switching off and I'm not engaged. I kind of need that interaction, which is why I'm loving the questions, because for me, I love the interaction and everything to. And is there any more questions? Have we got all the questions? Are we missing any?
No, we're up to date with the questions. Oh, hold on. Let's see. Can you see that all right, darling?
I can. I'm just thinking it over. So let me think. Right. So shamanic tools, fascinating subject. So let me talk to you a little bit of shamanic tools, and I might get to the answer to your question. So you asked me a question, I'll just tell you everything around it as well. I can't help but talk. So as I've mentioned, the shamanic drum. That one's actually from Siberia. It was made by a Siberian shaman. That one I birthed myself. So the shamanic drum is the beat which takes you in the trance-like state, which gets you on the journey where you do your journey. You can also do it with a rattle. Yeah, I've spotted your question mark about absent soul retrieval. I'll come back to that one. So then you have the rattle, and they both are there to help you go into a trance-like state. But then you have a whole bunch of further tools that you use. So over here I have a bunch of feathers, which you... Right. So I have feathers. So I have a massive great condor feather, which I whack things off people when things get stuck. And also the shamanic work I do is I will often connect to birds of prey and work with feathers in people's energy. Again, it's do that when I'm doing psychosurgery, so I'm cutting something out of its energy. I'll use a feather to cut it out. So you've got feathers, you've got whistles, gosh, you've got loads of things. My house is full of random things from around the world. Now, a shamanic wand. I've got a Harry Potter wand. Does that help? A shamanic wand, I tend to use wands when I'm using something very specific. So I've got a number of wands which are used for different things. So I have one which I'll just run up and down. Say if I've got a bad shoulder, I'll just run it up to try and get the energy flow, because if my shoulder's aching or my arm's aching, if the energy's not flowing, so I'll just get the wand and I'll just move it up and down. The other times I use a shamanic wand is, again, if I'm trying to really get into a very precise spot, or like do a laser beam into somebody's energy, to burn something out which shouldn't be there. Now, I only really use the drum and the rattle to go into a trance-like state. The rest I use while I'm doing a healing. However, what I can do is do if I'm doing distance healing, for instance, so I'll sit and connect to somebody's energy, and then as I pull their etheric body to me, I may kind of then use a wand to, while I'm in the trance-like state, to try and do the work I'm doing. It may be to unpick something, to move things around. So I would use it in a trance-like state for distance learning, not when I'm not doing distance learning, but not to take me into a distance learning. So I had a very, very long, wide answer there to a very short question. I hope that answers your question. Oh, deer antler with rabbit fur. Fabulous. Fabulous. I bet that looks gorgeous. I bet that looks really nice. I've got an antlers up there. I have an amazing hat which has got the antlers and it's kind of got deer fur which goes around. It looks absolutely amazing. Fabulous. Yes, and I use them again with the I have things like the antlers, which again will go into somebody's energy to wind it out, to pull it out a little bit. Yeah, so yeah, I definitely use those. Fabulous, great.
So would you say there's a level of those items are symbolic to sort of like reinforce the intent?
Yeah, so if you think about so say somebody's not got some energy flowing, and what you can do is you can imagine kind of an acupuncture pin going in to help it start to flow, and it's just all imaginal. Yeah. And it will dissolve. Or I've worked with people who say he's got a very an ankle which gives away a lot. So then I've put an imaginary boot around the ankle, which will then dissolve after a short time. Because the other key thing as well, when you're doing healing on someone, to say someone, especially the heart is a big one. Someone's got a really good protected heart. So what you don't want to do is go, look, you're overprotecting. Let's just open it out and yay, let everybody in and you're all in, because that's going to hurt. So you might want to reduce the very strong, nobody's getting close to me, I'm going to keep my heart safe. You kind of dissolving that a little bit, and so it's getting a little bit looser rather than suddenly open and then people just get hurt. So you never put anything in anyone's energy for long term. It's kind of there to help a process along and will slowly dissolve. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that. That just rang a huge bell with me. Thank you.
Cool.
Mark, your questions. I did ask you if you could sort of like expand on it.
Just saying fabulous to Lucy about amazing experience holding it. So another thing is get the thing I was going to do tonight with just things are just going in a different way is just hold something, connect to it and see where it comes from, and have these most amazing experiences when you really learn where things come from and connect to their history and the stories they have. So Mark, can you do absent soul retrieval? What do you mean by absent?
I think Mark is asking, could you perform that, say, on his behalf?
Oh yeah, I can do a soul retrieval. Yeah. So what I do when I have people who come and see me, if they're here for a very short time and haven't got much time, I'll quick, and there's lots of stuff going on and they need that soul back quickly, I'll do it for them. But I'm very big on teaching people. So yes, I can do it, or I can talk you through it and teach you to do it. But yeah, I can do it, or you could do it.
I hope that answers your question, Mark. No more questions. Yeah, Mark's just saying distant. So.
Oh yeah, you can do by distance. Yeah. We're all interconnected. Everything is interconnected. So it's just a case of distance healing. Yeah, I've done this a few times.
I had a message the other night in a clairvoyant session from Denmark. So yes, we are interconnected. I was just like laughing. I thought it was just so funny. Somebody sat in Denmark could give me my father. I was like, how are you doing that? It's great.
I always find it fascinating. When I first started this, it was absolutely fascinating that you could do something and somebody the other side of the world can feel it. I mean, I spent today, I have a friend who lives in South Sudan, and we spent the day doing what we call a pre-birth journey, about a journey where he identifies what energies he brought in when he which was connecting to the energies of what his mum was feeling like and his dad was feeling like before they kind of got together, as they got together, as he was conceived, and what energies he brought with him. And he's in South Sudan. So we're doing this journey, and then we're checking through his energy and working out how we can transform and remove these energies, which are about from his parents and not his. So, I mean, he's in South Sudan. I'm in Derby, Derby, UK. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. How did I get into it? Okay. So, right. I'll make a long story nice and short. I originally trained as a cognitive behavioural psychotherapist, and I was teaching cognitive behavioural psychotherapy as well at Derby Uni. And I felt there's something missing. It's not quite everything. Yeah. So I then went and did Gestalt psychotherapy, which I really like. So if you like, I always say from CBT, I got how to work with the mind and behaviours and that interconnected link there. And then I went to do Gestalt psychotherapy. And in Gestalt psychotherapy, I learned how to connect emotionally and how to be relationally and how to connect with another person. So this was fabulous. And one of the things in Gestalt therapy, they talked a lot about the body and working with the body. So I went to Esalen. I don't know if anyone's heard of Esalen, the big hippie place in California. So I went and did a body symposium over there, which is absolutely amazing. But while I was there was a guy doing Reiki and body therapy. So I thought, well, I've got to experience this. So I went and had one just to see what it feels like. And I came out and I was almost walking on air. I couldn't actually feel my body. And it's like there's really something in energy here. So I got really interested then in energy, and I got reading about energy, etc. So when I came back to the UK, I found an energy course, and I did the energy course, and I did Reiki, and I was like, I love it, but I'm not quite sure how I can bring that into my my shamanic practice, and as a psychotherapist, I like to know, I like to understand, I like to think through, I like to understand where it's come from, and why have you got a wolf? Why have you got a tiger? Why have you got a snake? Why? I want to know things. So I felt that the energy healing I didn't give me all those messages. And what I love about shamanism is that our whole life story is in our energy field. So when I connect to somebody, you can almost see that if you really connected at a deep level, you could really feel and connect and know, and you can heal by that spiritual resonance of connecting with other. That is a huge healing basis, which I learned shamanically. And also because when you kind of do soul retrieval, you're healing traumas as well. So when I go back, I'm healing a trauma from childhood. There's that, it was that deeper next dimension, if you like.
Brilliant.
That's how I got into shamanism, and then now I kind of try and do a bit of both.
Excellent. Lovely Fiona.
I have 5 drums. One actually is in South Sudan at the moment. I lent to a friend. So I have, up there at the right angle. There's a tiny little one up there. That's my traveling drum. That drum has been to Peru. It's been to Lithuania. I taught the shamanic course in Lithuania a few years ago, and I do an online gathering with them now. So that's an easy to travel one. So that's great. So that does that. Now this one, which I said was made from the shaman in Siberia, that's a big drum and it's got big power. And it's not, I don't play it that often because it's when I want a real pull. And this one over here is the one I birthed. So that's the one I made. So that was the one which is, if you like, closer to my heart. And it really connects to my heart. So when I do my gathering on a Thursday, 90% of the time I'll play that, because that's kind of my drum. I have another one over there, which was my first ever drum. And that every now and then goes, I want to be played. So I play that. And if I'm going to lend out a drum, which I have done in the past, that's the one. She kind of, and she's probably one of the only female drums as well. She likes to go and visit other people. So she's actually gone and stayed with other people for a few times. And a little one I've got, which has got an eagle on, is South Sudan, because that one likes to visit as well. So I have my main ones I play with, but I also have others which have got, every drum has got its own personality and has its own things. The little one, when I play that, oh my dear, that wants me dancing and moving. I can't sit and play the drum. I have to be standing, I have to be moving, I'm dancing around because that one wants to move. not only move around the world, but move around when I'm playing her. So they all have their own personalities. What animal? The little one and that one are both. That's a stag. That's a deer, and the Siberian one is a mountain goat. And a friend of mine's got a one made of horse. Oh dear, I played that the other week, and that was just running all over the place. That had a very different energy. So yeah, you do need to think about the energy of the animal when you buy it, because that horse one just wanted to run. It's like, whoa, 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 I haven't sorted out what I'm doing yet, and he's off running down. So yeah.
Brilliant.
Yes,
Absolutely
you
brilliant.
can. So Lucy, yes, you can get high priest, whatever, can get high praise in the shamanic world. So if you think about the shamanic world, is really, it's a world. You've got gods, you've got goddesses, you've got priests. I mean, if you're talking about a human, an actual living human, like might call themselves a high priestess, it's not the most shamanic thing. If I was to go and visit on a journey, some kind of priestess, yes, I could do that. If you look at some organisations having hierarchies and someone being a priestess, they might do, but it's not usual in the shamanic world. If you're going to meet a high priestess in the shamanic world, they tend to be more esoteric rather than actual physical people.
I get that. You're going to see him because of that shamanic link. It's not about a title or a stand-in. It's either there or it isn't there. I'm novice. I can meet a novice shaman or shamanic practitioner and gel because we're on that same level. I could meet somebody a lot higher up and just think, you know what, I haven't got a clue what you're going on about.
Yeah, yeah. Fiona's got a horse run, fabulous. Does it make you? I'd love to have a conversation. Does it make you run around or like go really fast? Because that's the thing with runs. I have a horse's some hair from a horse's tail, which I have around my staff, which I pinched off my sister's horse. Pinched some hairs off its tail, and I built a really nice thing. But no, horses are great, fabulous. Thank you, Joan.
Fiona's just asking where you're based.
I'm in Derby in the UK, so smack in the middle of England.
Yeah, lovely comment from Joan there.
That is lovely, thank you.
Jillian, what an amazing evening. Really, really good. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I really enjoyed this. This has been fabulous. I was really unsure because I thought I was going to sit here and I'm just going to talk to this screen and not really know what's going on. But actually, thank you everybody for joining in, because asking questions has made it far more lively.
It does. That interaction, as I said, all these programs that we here at the church are doing for the Saturday nights, I banner under the educational, because we're looking at so many different topics and just getting that little intro into them, because we've all heard of shamanism. No idea what it is about, but hearing you tonight, I've got a much better understanding of it, and actually a really good resonance as well, because there was so much in what you said about the simplicity of things, especially with the roots and the healing side of it. It's not a big egotistical endeavor, or managed by a corporation type approach. It's just great, and I do love that the non the non-advanced society, shamanism is still very strong there. When you're talking about Ecuador, top end of Russia, North America and India, it's so true. We've got our eyes shut.
It is. I mean, it is. I mean, they actually are in your medical centre. So where you go to a doctor's here, you've kind of got your doctor's room, you've got your nurse's room, and there they have doctors, nurses, and all a shaman's room. It really is so central, which is fabulous.
Yeah. Absolutely. A lovely comment there from Sarah.
Yeah, with some really nice comments. Thank you. You've all been so wonderful. Do feel free to, you've got my website, so do feel free to drop me a line. And if you've got any questions, then just, give us a shout. Always happy to talk about shamanism.
Brilliant. Everybody, the link to Jillian's website is in the comments there.
I agree, Fiona.
Please take Jillian up. There's a lady, obviously. I love passion. I love it, and when you get somebody on talking about something and you get from the heart, I'm just like, yeah, great, absolutely love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My pleasure.
Just a quick run through on what's coming up with the church for everybody at home. Tomorrow we have 2 divine services on a Sunday at this time. We have one in the morning at 10:45, and that is a Zoom presentation. So you do need to be online and logged in to take part of that. And tomorrow our guest speaker is Jillian Harper, coming to us from Plymouth. In the afternoon, we have our live service here within the church. If you are local to the area, we would love to see you, but please, please, please adhere to the travel restrictions that are in place at the moment. So we do have a live service actually within the church, 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 4 o'clock, doors open at 2:40. And that is also streamed live to view only online. Monday night at 7 o'clock and Saturday morning at 9 a.m. we have our meditation time. Next Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Zoom, and it will be streamed live to view only on the church Facebook page. We can't have any interaction between the 2 platforms. We've got our Spiritualist Lyceum night, and we've got Jack Eckhart Lundland joining us from Denmark. And he'll be giving some hints and techniques to refine your evidence within your mediumship. So don't forget healers as well. These practices apply to you because you are mediums. You are receiving that energy from spirit. So always listen into these mediumistic topics just to give you ideas to refine your art of healing. So that's Wednesday night at 7 p.m. on Zoom if you wish to interact and ask questions. If you just wish to view it only, please do so. That will be on the church Facebook page. Friday night, 7:30 on the church Facebook page. We have another night with our Spiritist friends from Bournemouth. And we're doing a series of talks on one spirit who's had many incarnations, Joanna de Angelis, which is very big within the Spiritist movement. So I think our talk on Friday night is coming live from Brazil, and they'll be talking about yet another aspect of this fascinating spirit story. Saturday night at 7 o'clock, live on the church Facebook page, we have Heidi Karodi. Apologies if I've murdered your name there, Heidi. But she's coming to us from, I believe, Norway. And she'll be giving a talk on spirit and encaustic art. So another fun week lined up there. Back to the lovely Jill. Jill, you've been an absolute star. Absolute wonderful. If you'd like to come back and do another evening with us on a specialist field or anything, yeah, more than happy to host you. Brilliant. I just love it. I love that passion that comes out in people. It's so wonderful to see. And really, I'm aware of shamanism, no understanding of it. I've got a better understanding of it, and it really resonates. There's so many things you were saying. I'm going, oh my God, I do that on that level, but you're doing it on that level. That's great.
Yeah, honestly, it's been a real pleasure. I'm so happy. I've really enjoyed it. I do have a passion for such subjects. Yes, it's great. So yeah, thank you for having me, and definitely come back.
Brilliant. And just want to finish off on that comment there, because this is an energy that's been so obvious the last year. The similarities. We've had so many people talking about so many different aspects of spirituality, and we're all talking out the same book. We're all just looking at the same picture, just from a slightly different angle. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Yeah.
Good night.
Take care, everybody. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. Stay sane. Remember what I always say: if you've got something troubling you, can you change it? Yes or no? If it's no, Don't let it trouble you because you can't change it. Just let it go and worry about what you can do. Take care. Love you lots.